Okay, so we all have joined. There are still a few students who are left to join. Although I have already messaged in the group, so we'll start with our class. Okay. So in the last class, I think it is now clear to you all how to form identifiers, what are identifiers, and also we saw a few examples of identifiers. Okay, we saw this, we did this activity where we took some identifiers, both valid and invalid identifiers mixed, and we tried to find out which one is valid, invalid, all, and also we tried to deduce the reason behind why a particular identifier is valid and why it is invalid, and also tried to correct the invalid ones. So now we will move forward and we will start with what are literals and literals or values. Okay, so literals are another type of tokens which are used in a Python program. Literals, they are also known as constants or values. Okay, literals also are constants or values, right? So all the constants which we use in our program, values which don't change. For example, you all know the value of pi. Okay, its value is taken as 22 divided by 7, right? So this is a constant. Why? Because it doesn't change. We never change the value of pi. So this is an example of constant from our daily life, right? So in a Python program, we can create constants. We can create constants. Any value which we feel, it's not necessarily pi or any other such value, but if we feel that we need to keep a particular value as constant, we don't want this value to change in the program, so we can set that value as a constant. So constant values are they are also of certain type, like if I just also of certain types. They are, we have string constants, we have numeric constants, Boolean constants, a special constant that is none, and we have collections as constants. Okay, so let's see each one of them in detail. First, we start with string constant or string literal. What are string literals? Anything which is made out of capital A to Z, small a to Z, digits 0 to 9. Remember, I'm not using the term numbers here. I'm using the term digits, which don't have any calculation value right now. Okay. So those which don't have any numeric value right now, they are recognized as string. You will understand why. Okay. And special characters. Last year, when we were studying about data type, students, I had when we were studying MS Access, you had studied about data types. Do you remember that? In that, we had studied about various data types like text data type, short text, long text, if you remember that. Okay, so all those data types which are alphanumeric in nature, alphanumeric, that is which contains also, and numeric, that is they contain digits also, they contain special characters also, they are known as string literals. Some examples of string literals are These are some examples of strings. Okay, you can see that this could be a name of a person, this could be a name of a person, name of a state, some address. Okay, so here, and also I'm taking something else, some item. Right. So here these are combinations of both uppercase characters and lowercase characters. You can see this is uppercase and these are lowercase characters. Same way here also. Here we have a combination of uppercase and lowercase characters, and there is a white space in between. Okay. White space is also a special character, and here we have digits 5 and 6. There is a dash, that is a hyphen in between, capital A, comma, space, and we have a combination of letters, okay, alphabets, uppercase and lowercase. Now students, this 56 which you see over here, this 56 doesn't have calculation capabilities. You cannot perform calculation on this. So whenever you find digits on which calculations are not applied, are not applicable, they are what considered as string literals. For example, someone's phone number. I'm writing the phone number like this. I don't know if it's, I just formulated this phone number. Now, do you need to do any calculations on a phone number? Tell me. Do you do any calculations on phone number? कभी जरूरत पड़ती है phone number पे calculations करने की? Can anybody tell me? Do you perform any kind of calculations on a phone number?
No,
Or if I
ma'am.
write like 275525849296, suppose I have written this, you don't need to perform any kind of calculation on this. So this thing you can specify as alphanumeric. That is, you can specify this as a string or text data, right? So if you see that any kind of numeric data on which calculations are not applicable, they can be considered as string literals. So this is a string literal over. The most, how do you identify string literals in Python? We use single quotes, single quotation mark, and double quotation mark. That is, I can write Alicia Mathur like this also, within single quotes also, and within double quotes also. This is a flexibility which Python provides. Normally, in most programming languages like C, C++, only double quotes is applicable for string literals and single quotes is applicable for character literals. But in Python, we don't have that. Here, whether you take a single character or you take a group of characters, that is like Alicia Markov, which is a group of characters, one single letter or one single alphabet or a special symbol or digit, that will be considered as one character. Character will include everything. Your alphabets also, both uppercase and lowercase, your digits also, that is 0 to 9, and your special symbols also, and your non-printable characters also. The white space is also a character. Understood? So whether it is a group of characters or whether it is a single character, they can be represented in Python using single quotes or double quotes. But you have to remember one thing. If you start a string with a single quote, you have to end it with a single quote. If you start a string with a double quote, you have to end it with a double quote. Is this much clear to everyone? There is a lot to be studied in strings, right? So this is Firstly, string. Let us try to create some strings in Python. So I'm going to start with my Python IDE. You can see it is already there. So I'm going to click that and it will first open the Python shell. So this is your Python shell. Please remember this. What we have opened is Python interactive shell, right? So Python interactive shell is opened in front of you, which contains a primary prompt, which is like this. This is known as a primary prompt. Now, what is the use of a primary prompt? It accepts commands. It accepts commands from the programmer. Okay, so this primary prompt waits for your commands. When you give your command, it will just take that command, interpret it, and it will execute that. Okay, so this Python interactive shell, here I'm just going to type something and you'll see how it works. So I'm writing here Alicia Mathur. I've just written it and enclosed it within single quotes. Press enter and Alicia Mathur is echoed back to the screen as it is. Okay, that is because this is what Python interactive shell. We can also use the print function, the print keyword, to print this text. Print function do it whatever you write within the print function. Okay, within this, whatever you have written, it will be printed as it is on the screen. But there will be a difference. Now you won't see the codes anymore because it already interprets these codes and it understands that this is a string literal and it prints it, it echoes it back to the screen. But if you simply type it like this, the codes will also be returned. Right? Now I'm using double quotes. This is a string consisting of uppercase characters also, lowercase characters also, and spaces also. Okay, and it is a group of characters. So if I press enter, you will see that although I had provided it within double quotes, but it is returned in single quotes. This whole thing, I can just copy this and I can just type it using print. Karnataka is the southern state of India. So simple, you can simply print it, okay, any string. So why am I starting with strings? Because we are going to use strings extensively in our program, right? So these are what strings. But now you have to keep something in mind, that is, there are two types of strings in Python: single line strings and multi-line strings. What we were seeing right now, these are what single line strings. These are all here, whatever example we have taken, they all are single line strings. Understood that? There are multi-line strings also, that is strings which you would like to extend across multiple lines. For example, I'm just going to type something here. Just did a mistake. Going to start this with a double quote. Every multi-line string starts with a triple double quote. So I'm pressing enter and it allows me to continue typing. and I'm closing this using a triple double quote. Press enter. Now if I just type story, you will see a slash n character everywhere. This slash n character is a special type of a character which we will be learning in a short while, that marks the end of a particular line. So just because I have just typed story, so it echoes it back to the screen like this in an unformatted way. But if I use a print statement, print story, it will print the entire string in a proper formatted way. It will break the line wherever it finds this new line character. Okay, so this is what we can create single line strings and multi-line strings. So multi-line strings, they use triple double quotes, triple double or single quotes. That is, you can have them start with a triple double quotes, or you can have them start with a triple single quotes. So when you want to continue the string across multiple lines, that could be mostly for, suppose you are creating a file handling program where you want to store the lines of a poem, okay, or if it is like you want to save the profile of an employee, and profile of an employee you want, you see, many a times typing all the lines on a single line is not very readable. So for storing the profile of an employee, you might need to store the name, first name, then the employee's department, okay, then his designation, something about his hobbies or interests. So like this, you want to save some details about the profile of an employee, and it looks good if every detail is on a separate line. So you can start it with a triple single quote or triple double quote, and likewise you can end that. Okay, so I'll give you an example of this. Like employee profile. So I'm creating an identifier using camel case. You can see emp profile. I have given the name. I'm starting it with a triple single quotes. He is, sorry, I'm right. So some information about Emily Rogers, who is an employee. So this way you can create an employee profile. Press enter, and now if you use the print statement to print that, it looks good. It looks proper. Okay, so you can see every detail is on a separate line. Rather, if you just print it like this, it won't be that readable. Okay, which one is more readable? Obviously the first one is more readable, because print statement, it reads these line breaks wherever they are, and it automatically changes the line over there. Okay, so these multi-line strings are very very useful, because they help us to write or span the strings across multiple lines. Sometimes some other examples I'll give you, like you want to store product description. That is, if there is a product, like for example, it is a mobile phone. So you might want to store the features of the mobile phone in a particular string, right? That is the model name, model number, okay, batch number, the screen size, okay, the memory size, uh, battery backup for how many days or how many hours, and various the camera features and various other things. It would look good if it is on a separate line. Okay, so that way product description you can store in multi-line string, right? Single line strings are suitable for things like a person's name, okay, and even multi-line strings can also store address. Normally we tend to store addresses in this way. I'm giving you one more example of address now. And I'm using triple single quotes over here. The in code I have provided over here. So it looks good. That is first line, flat number, okay. Second line, it could be the exact place where the person is staying, then the locality, then the city and pin code, and then the state. So this way, address can also be specified as a multi-line string. Can you give me examples of a few more multi-line strings, students? Where you can use multi-line string to store such data. Like I have already given you some example. Okay, maybe you are storing some lines of a poem, maybe you are storing the profile of an employee, maybe you are storing product description, address of a person, okay, or the complete details or description about something. So those are what multi-line strings. So I want you to reflect and think about a few more examples of what all things you can store in a multi-line string. Then about the single line strings. Usually person's name, okay. Then what else? Product name, employee name, anything else? Vehicle name.
Students' marks in a particular subject.
Students' marks is a numeric value. Now, Mohit, I'm coming to that. Student marks is something on which you need to perform calculations. So that comes under a completely different data type. That is what data type? Numeric data type, which we'll be studying in a short while, right? I'm currently we are only thinking about all those type of data where you don't need to perform any calculations. That is all types of alphanumeric data. So what all data can come here? Course name. Can you think about some more? Tell me.
I'm confident.
Address.
Address we have already taken as a multi-line string. Name of a person, school name. What about name of the school? Institute name. Now it's up to you if you want to also specify the affiliation number, the ISO details about the institute. You can take this both as a single line string also and multi-line string also. Okay, that is only institute name if you want to specify, that can be considered as a single line string. If you want to also, like, first line should be institute name, second line should be the place, that is like Patel Nagar, Bhopal, then next line should be affiliation number, affiliated to CBSE number so and so, and next line you want to specify ISO certification number. Okay, so an ISO certified company or school or institute. So if you want to break this data across different lines, you can take it as multi-line string. Give me some more examples of single line strings, as many as you can think of.
School, ma'am, student result.
Student result, how? What data are you going to store in that?
Ma'am, subject marks of particular student. Ma'am, name of student.
मार्क्स कम्स अंडर न्यूमेरिक. जिस पे भी कैलकुलेशन हो सकता है उसको अभी छोड़ दो, अभी उसके बारे में डिस्कस कर ही नहीं रहे हैं.
मैम, ग्रोसरी लिस्ट ऑफ सुपरमार्केट्स.
ग्रोसरी लिस्ट कैन ओके. Can you consider this as a single line string? It would be more suitable as a multi-line string.
Yes, ma'am.
Because there will be a number of items like whole wheat, flour, pepper, seasoning, and every oils, condiments, spices. Everything would come on a different line. So multi-line would suit more. But you can take item name or product
Yes,
name.
ma'am.
What else? और बोलो और सोचो.
Ma'am, I have one doubt.
Yes.
Ma'am, does single line strings is similar to XML, which you have done in 10th class?
See, XML is a different genre. Okay, XML is basically used for storing data, but you can compare it with that. Like there also we need to store data, right? So there also we need to store data. Here also we need to store data. So we are storing data over here. So that way you can compare, but don't compare it too much because here Python is a programming language and that is a markup language. So their domains are different, right? वहां से भी कोई डेटा उठ के आता है तो your programming language should identify its data type first. Got it? But you can compare it with that.
Okay, ma'am.
To some extent. Yes. Any other examples? Come on. So many things are there. So many examples are there in the real world. What else can we consider as a single line string?
Ma'am, subject name.
Very good. Subject name. And you can also see that I am writing each of these names as identifiers. If you just pay close attention. Here I have not given any space in between. I have used capital letters for each of the words, okay, to separate the words. So very good. Subject name, it could be something like history, civics, geography, chemistry, astronomy. So subject name, very good. Then what else? You can store name of the subject. You can store a person's name.
Student name.
Student name, very good. And see, I'm going to write it like this.
Class section.
Yes, very good. Class section. So I can combine the two this way and I can store it like this.
Yes, ma'am.
Either I can store it like this or I can store it like this. X, I and A, or I can store it like this. ऐसे भी हम store कर सकते हैं, right? So you can do that. So many examples we saw over here, which could be examples of single line strings and multi-line strings. Now coming to how strings are represented in the memory, this is very important. How strings are represented in the memory. मेमोरी में कैसे स्टोर हो रहा है? So look here very carefully. In the memory, the strings are stored as continuous blocks of characters. Like for example, if I take any example, I'll take from here, like the name of a person. Okay, so I'm taking the name of a person. Suppose person underscore name, and I have given the value. I think we have Abhinav Gupta in this class, I think. Okay, anyways, I've just taken this arbitrary name, whatever came to my mind, right? So this is the variable, and I'm going to specify this here also. Person underscore name equals, you can see how this literal is specified within uh, double quotes and how it appears in green color. Okay, press enter, and now I'm going to print this, and it is printed as it is, right? So how is it represented in the memory? So see it very carefully here. I'm going to open Excel for doing this. So every letter is stored in a separate block. And I'm going to select all of them. You can consider this how they are being stored. So every letter is stored in contiguous memory location, if you remember. Okay, so each of them occupies how much? 1 byte. Character occupies 1 byte of memory space. So how many bytes can you see over here? One, we are going to number them. We are going to number each of them starting from 0. And we are going to drag it here. And now tell me what is the size of this, what is the size of this data? How much size? How many bytes does this occupy?
13.
14 bytes.
Think very carefully, it is 14 bytes because we have
Yes, ma'am.
started the numbering from 0. Okay, whenever it comes to memory, always remember in all programming languages, you have to start indexing from 0. Got it? So here we are actually indexing from 0. And even this white space character, it also occupies 1 byte of memory. Okay, so you can see it over here. Every character occupies 1 byte of memory. And so these are the positive indices. And we also have negative indices in Python. That is, now negative indices would be from the right hand side. It will start with negative value. And this way I'm just going to, and this is how it is represented from the right hand side. In the memory, this is how any string is literal is represented. Okay, positive indices also and negative indices also. There is a chapter in your term 1 that is strings, which completely deals with strings in detail. So when we start with that chapter, students, a lot more you will study about strings, that is string slicing, string indexing, okay, string concatenation, that is joining of two strings, right? So string repetition, that is repeating a string. So these things you will study gradually in that chapter. Is this clear to everyone? How strings are represented in the memory? Each character has a positive index as well as a negative index, right? If I tell you, now the name of this string is, what did we name the string? Person name, right? So just pay attention how it will be stored in the memory. Somewhere in the memory it is stored, right? So here this thing that is person name is just a label which will be pointing to this memory location. This is a label, or we say this is the identifier which identifies this memory location where the data is stored. Okay, there would be some starting address. Suppose, for example, we start it from 1050, and then the next one is 1051, then the next one is 1052, and so on. Got it? So this is how data is stored in string type data is stored in the memory. Each character occupies a certain position, and the characters are stored in sequential memory locations one after the other, and they are indexed positively also and negatively also. Right? If I have to specify, like, right, for example, if I write like this, person name 8, what will it give me? What is person name 8? That is what is at the 8, that is 9. Actually, this is the ninth location, because if you start counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, this is the ninth position, right? But the index is what? 8. So here we are specifying the index. So what is at index 8? We have S. Got it? What
Yes.
is at index 7? A white space character, which is represented like this. Two single or two double quotes, and in between there is one space, right? And if I write like this, what is person name -4?
Mimi.
Very good. It is small a, this one. Okay. So using any of the indices, positive or negative indices, we can easily figure out what is the particular value which is true. So now this person name over here, which I have specified, okay, this is an identifier which stores this constant value, right? Which stores this value. If I simply write it like I'm simply writing, this is a constant, that is, this is a literal value, a string type literal. Got it? Okay, so this was about the single line strings. What about the multi-line strings? Let us take an example of a multi-line string now. So here for multi-line, let me take only 2 lines, because otherwise it would become very cumbersome for us. So I'm going to take only 2 lines over here. So I'm going to specify it like this. And there is a new line character at the end. Back. Going to be a very long thing. Then there is a space. You can see how much it occupies, right? So I'm going to just set this on the next line so that it's easy for us to understand. Like this. So here I start the numbering from 0 and 1. And this new line is also included. Then 18, 19, And what is the total size now? Tell me. What is the size of this whole multi-line string?
50.
50 bytes.
Very good. This 50. Okay, because we have started it from 0 and this new line character is also included. Please remember this. For multi-line strings, new line characters are also a part of the string. Got it? Because they are marking the end of a particular line. Right? Let us try to figure out the length of the strings. So we had this M profile over here. Okay, this was M profile. I had used print statement to print it. And now I'm going to print its size. How? Print len. I'm using a len function over here, which returns the number of characters in a string. How many characters? Sorry. 216 characters or 216 bytes is the length of the string, including new line character at the end of every line except the last line. Okay, बस last line में new line character नहीं होगा, बाकी सारे lines में new line character होगा. Okay, so I'm just going to show it to you how it will be represented. This is the string and every line is represented here. So here new line will be like this. Got it? Except the last line. So all the lines except the last line will have the new line character for a multi-line string. Is this clear to everyone, student? Single line strings and multi-line strings.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now what we are going to do is we are going to write a simple program, a small program. That could be a hello world program, which is the very basic, very first program you learn in any programming language. Write a simple program in Python to print hello world on the screen. You need to print hello world on the screen. How are you going to do that? So we are going to simply, we are back at the Python shell. We are at the prompt over here. So simply I am going to write print hello world. And hello world is printed on the screen. I tell you to print your name on the screen. This is a simple one-line program for printing your name on the screen. I tell you to print your address on the screen. So I will write it like this. Print. And I'm going to use a triple double quotes over here. My address is some arbitrary address I'm taking here. Some arbitrary imaginary address I have taken, press enter and it is printed. So address is printed as what? Multi-line string. Because normally we have first line, second line, then third line we usually write the name of the place and the name of the city along with the pin code, then we write the name of the state. Okay, so this way we divide the data among different. So students, with this I conclude today's class, and very shortly after my next class, I have a class in 10th. So after that class, I'll be posting posting some questions for you to do today. Okay. So with this, I conclude today's class, students.
Ma'am, thank you, ma'am.